IH Services retaliated against 2 of the female employees by suspending or terminating them for reporting rape threats.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Boss Watch, which is the mirror image of Last Week in Southern Labor, where we take a look at what bosses were up to in the southern United States and the colonies. This is a regional issue. The U.S. Department of Labor has recovered $11.4 million in back wages and liquidated damages for more than 1,000 employees of an East Coast restaurant chain after a series of investigations and litigation by the department. The recovery is related to a consent judgment entered by a U.S. District Court that resolves litigation by the department's Office of the Solicitor related to pay practices at more than 40 Plaza Azteca Mexican restaurant locations owned by Ruben Leon in 7 states. The employers agreed to the consent judgment after months of litigation just before a jury trial was scheduled to begin. The lawsuit includes Plaza Azteca locations in Connecticut, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and, importantly for us, North Carolina and Virginia. Specifically, the department alleged that numerous locations of the restaurant paid back-of-the-house employees predetermined amounts not related to the hours worked. By doing so, the employers failed to pay some employees who worked up to 40 hours in a work week the required minimum wage and did not pay some employees time and a half for hours worked over 40 in a work week. The employers also failed to maintain accurate records of employees' work hours and wages as required by law. Due to the repeat and willful nature of the violations, the consent judgment also recovered $625,000 in civil money penalties from the employers. In addition to back wages and penalties, the consent judgment forbids the employers from further violating the Federal Labor Standards Act in the future and requires them to retain a qualified independent consultant to make certain that the employer's payroll and record-keeping practices comply with the Federal Labor Standards Act. In Mississippi, investigators with the U.S. Department of Labor's Wage and Hour Division found that the employer at its Arrington assisted living location, which provides housing and nursing care, housekeeping and meal preparation services for older adults, failed to carry hours over from the beginning of a work week into the next pay period when compensating employees on a semi-monthly pay schedule. By doing so, the employer did not pay employees the time and a half rate due when the work week hours split by the pay period totaled more than 40 as required by the Fair Labor Standards Act. Arrington Assisted Living also failed to compute a weighted average for the employees paid 2 different pay rates in the same work week. By doing so, the employer paid some employees lower overtime rates for hours worked over 40. In addition, the employer failed to keep accurate pay records as required. In a 2022 investigation, the agency found that the employer also violated the Fair Labor Standards Act by failing to pay overtime premiums on shifted differential bonuses and weight averages in overtime weeks at its Windsor Place Nursing Center location. The department recovered $60,000 for 64 workers and $7,600 in civil money penalties. And wrapping it up in Alabama, where Muller Company, LLC, which is a nationwide manufacturer and seller of gas and water distribution services, and IH Services Incorporated, which provides cleaning services in Muller facilities, agreed to pay $150,000 and provide other relief to settle claims of sexual harassment and retaliation in a lawsuit filed by the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. According to the lawsuit, IH Services assigned 3 female janitors to work at Muller's in Albertville, Alabama, the fire hydrant manufacturing plant. Several male Muller employees solicited these female employees for sex, exposed their genitals, and made sexual comments about the women's bodies and sex lives. Wow. The EEOC further alleged that one Muller employee attempted to rape one of the female janitors. After they complained to multiple IH Services and Muller managers, IH Services retaliated against 2 of the female employees by reducing their hours and by making them work overnight shifts, and then ultimately suspending or terminating them for reporting rape threats.
Wow.
Insane. The EEOC filed suit in U.S. District Court after its Birmingham District Office completed an investigation. Under a 3-year consent decree, in addition to monetary relief for the victims, both companies will review and revise their sexual harassment and retaliation policies. That's a good idea, I would say, and post them in prominent locations frequented by employees or distribute them to all employees. Both companies will also provide annual training on their sexual harassment and retaliation policies and employee rights under Title VII to both managers and non-supervisory employees. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.